That is beautiful. Beautiful visual. My name is Jessica Holyfield, and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're going to be taking a look at HWAA by G-I-DLE. I think this is technically my first reaction I am ever doing to a G-I-DLE track, so I'm very pumped about this. This is also a Patreon request. Shout out to Akira for the request. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, but here's what's something interesting. The reason why we are doing this request is because I put a fun little competition on Patreon because I'm right in the middle of a marathon with Stray Kids at the time of me recording this, and I thought it'd be fun to see if anybody could guess how much material I was going to be looking at for that marathon. And she was one who ended up guessing the itemized content correctly, which was 156 different pieces of videos that I had intended on looking at for Stray Kids Marathon. Now that number's fluctuated since that poll and that competition had taken place because as I react to stuff, you know, things happen, you add things in, but I honored it and she won, so by naming it correctly, which I think is crazy. It's such a specific number, and so we get to take a look at a fun request as a prize for her guessing right. So we're gonna go ahead and take a watch. Nice. I like the speed change on the hands. Beautiful. Nice. Beautiful. Very nice. I like that too. Nice. I love seeing whenever this gets used. It's just a beautiful transition of the fingers. Nice. I like the tension on that pole. That was nice. The angles they're making are really nice, satisfying. They match just the aesthetic of the track very well. I love that little trot with the taps on that. Really fun. And they finished. It actually does have quite an anticlimactic finish, and I wonder if that was the intention. But we have the music video pulled up right here. Very intrigued on what this is, and if they have a lore. I'm not quite sure. Remember, this one is a, you know, not a part of a marathon or anything, so I'm kind of coming in completely blind once again. Very first time I'm looking at (G)I-DLE in their own discography, so I'm very excited. Turn it up just a smidge. That is beautiful. Beautiful visual. Her diction and how she's saying, everything is so intriguing. Love her tone. Umbrellas are dope too. I love her nails. Just the aesthetic of just what they're physically wearing. Ooh. I wonder how many times those chains hit him in the face. I'm just telling you that kind of trotting and that specific thing that's on their face, that is gonna hit them. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna fly up, nail them in the eye. Shall bloom a flower. I really like how rhythmically you want to predict it to stay where it is, and then it just travels it nice and low. It's so satisfying. Wow. Beautiful. And I like the fact that we have red. Good that they don't have those chains on their face, because this part is what I was thinking of for that. I have a feeling everybody placates to a particular type of character, and I'm very intrigued by that. So let me go do a smidgen of digging before we look at the dance. Okay, there was a video that actually covered the meaning behind the track. So in a nutshell with the music video, this is kind of a sequel to a previous track they have called Oh My God, right? Or something like that. No, see, now I gotta make sure. Yes, it is Oh My God. And it's, there was more of their demise in a toxic relationship, and here it's not letting the relationship define them and breaking free from the turmoil that it can cause and blossoming into a beautiful flower. I do know with the term HWAA, it means like fire, but it can mean flower or like a bloom. So there's a lot. It's basically a big pun is what I was informed, which I think is really cool. So is there going to be some of that overlapping in the actual physical imagery? Potentially. I mean, remember my scope is English is my primary language. I do dabble in other languages, but not enough to call myself fluent by any means. Preschool, if that. So we're going to enjoy this for what it is. If there's any formation symbolism, I am looking forward to hearing what you guys bring. in the things that I end up missing, because remember, I'm coming in right in the middle. It kind of feels like I was thrown into the middle of a story, right? And I think that's totally fine. I kind of got the gist of what I had missed. I got a little caught up. Thank you to the video I watched. It really caught me up very well. But this very beginning is very cool, very intriguing. Notice there was a huge overlap that was taking place with our center. And then they go and they have a nice connection. I also heard that this is the last time G-IDLE operates with a group of 6. So anything past this point, they are operating not with a group of 6, but a group of 5, possibly. But yeah, I know that's a very different topic. We're here taking a look at this and enjoying it for what it is. I really like the branching of it. Everybody looking at their hand as they create a nice moment. And then you have your dancer in the bottom. She lifts her arm up to create some sense of opposition. I like the crossover still happening from her feature at top. Looks great. D-D-D-D. They go and they extend it out. And then they bring it right back in. Is this the cleanest in the world? Not exactly. I mean, you can see that not everybody's on the same page on some of their choices in how they're expanding out, how far they're extending the wrist when they do choose to do a bend of it. Little details like that, but I can definitely appreciate what they're going for in artistry. So it doesn't bother me as much because it's a dance practice. So with those, I'm not super like, you know, gritting my teeth in them as much, unless a group is known for their synchronicity. Then I'm a little bit more particular about cleanliness because that's what a group's known for. But I digress. So I like this. They take it in creating breath. Notice that the wrist is what's causing the impact, and then all of the residual effect of the energy is traveling down the rest of the fingers. Really nice that everybody's creating a beautiful frame to our center, where you have their hands nice and lengthened up to create a nice line, and then you have your 2 that are opposite here in the center. That is a really good case of when you have an even number, which is what you see here. I kind of picked up on it with some of the formation choices, which is totally fine. Nothing crazy, but whenever you do have 2 people that are in the center, a lot of times this is a really good way to keep balance, which is having one person do one hand, one person doing the other, because if they both did the same hand and it was heavier in representation to one particular side, it can make the balance a little bit off. So I appreciate the intention of having opposition in your center because it keeps it nice and easy to digest formation wise. Also having some of them really drip and glide that foot in, it's a really nice touch. We're not really glide, slide. They go, great accent once again. Doon. Everybody looks away except for your feature. Very easy for us to know who to look at, because I tend to, it could be a personal preference thing, but when I look at a group for the first time, I don't know any of them. I don't. And so I come from the place of the choreography needs to help me in formations in order for me to know who my feature is so I can appreciate them being the feature. And choreography plays a huge role in that. I can't just rely upon somebody mouthing the words to tell me that. And so I appreciate the intention of everybody looking to the back except for my feature, so it allows me to appreciate who I need to, which is my girl right here in center. I've also said this, just because you're in center does not mean that you're catering to my attention. Sometimes somebody else's energy and movement quality is going to outshine you. That happens. And I'm not talking about this specific routine, but it does happen in other routines. So I like the fact it's very clear and easy to understand who I'm looking for. I like how she takes the energy and she travels it up. Honestly, I do know the imagery of a tree. She has her hair that's kind of caught in the tree, and I'm assuming that maybe this can kind of tie into I'm trapped or I'm locked into something that's outside of my control. I like the looking, as she looks, boom, ding, that ding, ding. So it's a nice little reset interruption from point A to point B, ding, ding. Would I call it a strobe or a tick? Not necessarily. Good chance this is just hybrid choreo. And when I say that, it's a huge fusion of a choreographer's stylized background. I don't think this is a reflection of their fundamentals as much. I do appreciate the fact that we're able to see such dynamics so early and a lot of texture exploration, a lot of breath, but there's tension behind it. I love it because it adds elegance, but also power and building, simmering, just like a smoke to a flame, like what I have on my arm. So I really like that. So I like that choice of the 2 interruptions. I don't think they were thinking in their head, oh, I have to do 2 strobes. Oh, I have to do 2 ticks. That's why I'm not going to really give them the technique name for that. But if you wanted to see what that kind of tech fundamental looks like on other street styles, you glean there. But I like the fact from here, they all melt in. Everyone, you have about half of them melting and arching, and then you have those that are kind of going in opposition and dipping the head the other way. Looks really nice. They melt up. She takes her hand and brings it forward. She twinkles it in. They have a nice accent that goes up. They accent once again. So she's still my feature. They go up, boom, boom. So you notice that my stage right has more depth behind this choice. That would be an in general note. Is that, I mean, are they going for some degree of imbalance? I mean, I feel like that's always a debatable thing depending on concept. There is a chance I'm forgetting something or I'm not aware of something. So that does influence how formations get formed a lot of times. There's choreographies that are meant to not look centered. They're meant to look off. They're meant to look asymmetrical, and there's beauty to be had in those. I come from the position of, if you're a choreographer and conceptually you have a formation like this and the intention behind it is there is beauty and power and presence and intention behind why you have everybody placed where they are, and it's not just a, oh, circumstantially they're just there. I can definitely get behind your choices. I think there's beauty in different perspectives, but because I don't know enough, I can't really say if this was a maybe explore or workshop a potentially different way to kind of alleviate some depth here and make it a little bit more along the lines of what we see here, because both look cool, but they don't provide me any clarity on what I need to focus on. Am I needing to focus on the depth of this choice in creating the environment, or do I need to look at the just synchronization because you have everybody showcasing their hands to the same spacing in the formation? So that's kind of like my overall note, observation, not really critique at all. But I like the subtlety, the speech aids, boom, boom, boom. It does look like people are going in different direction, so it does feel like one of my girls that are back here, she's going the opposite direction as some of the other ones, so you do obviously see this. So I'm wondering if they do register and they see the depth and they made an intentional choice, hence my previous point. And I like where she goes, she takes it, drops it down. I really like her tone a lot. It's cool. It's definitely something that I feel intrigued to listen to how she says her words, you know? It's just intriguing, and I like how she dips it and allows the chest to go and lets the head hover on the ground to make it a nice, beautiful, slinky moment. It's not really sensual. It's definitely like, it's teasy, but not in any sensual way, I think is kind of the best way to word it. I do like it a lot. She goes, takes her hand, and they swing and present those arms out. You have another dancer enter the chat. I like where they have half of them expand to the outside, so they're facing the inside, but they're expanding and creating an openness to the outside. And then you have somebody complement your feature with an extra hands in the back. That comes back, oh, that's a little mustache, cute. But it complements what ends up happening later on in the routine, which is like this huge, I just remember seeing it with, there's this particular traditional dance where they have these really long fingernails and they showcase, it's like golden, like the 1,000 hands, 1,000 palms or something like that is the name of it. It's not affiliated with this culture, I don't think at all. It just reminds me of that, you know, something similar to that nature. But I like how that being introduced more subtly here, like a fingerprint, and then seeing it really fully fleshed out in the music video, but also here later on. So I do appreciate the framing and also the level representation. You can see that they're a little bit lower, so it creates some separation between my standing feature and my two outside standing individuals. Because if these two were standing, it wouldn't feel like there's much depth, or it would be a little bit harder for us to see our feature because she's not doing a ton of stuff. She doesn't need to. But levels can really help guide us into who they want us to look at, and I really like that. I like the pull she does there, boom, doo-doom, doom. They take the arms, they do a lot of connection with the elbows is what I'm seeing. So they have a lot of these bleed overs. This tension overlap is what I'm noticing. So, and honestly, being real, I don't quite see any of these choices that they've done 100% cleaner together. There's always something that's a little off. Either it's the direction of their palm, the direction of the wrist, the fullness of the fingers. Now, do I know them? I don't really know them for anything. I do know they're a very well-known group. I've had them recommended to me many times. So I couldn't tell you. I know they're well-liked, but I couldn't tell you if they're known as a dancing group, a singing group, an all-around group, a live group, performance over singability. I don't know any of that. I'm just going off of what I see. Is this the cleanest thing in the world? Like I said, no, it's not. Because when you're dealing with tension, when it bleeds and then you have syncopation or you have ebb and flow and switching of textures like this, where you're kind of switching every 2 counts, it gets tricky to get everybody on the same page, and more people makes it a little bit harder. And so in this case here, that's my in general note, is I think that could definitely, we can always work on refining it, but when you do look in the music video, all of them look really nice, clean, and crisp. So it always goes back to, just because in the choreography practice video I see unrefinement, it doesn't mean that what they've brought to the table in general is obsolete. Quite the opposite. If anything, in the music video, we're able to see exactly how the choreography was supposed to be captured within a cinematic perspective. Because a lot of times with choreography, it's not meant to be looked at a fixed point full cam shot. And I think a great example is Hey Ya by IVE. I think they, you know, that's a whole completely different topic, but some of those camera choices are not, it can really influence what we see, right? So all that to say, in these cases, I'm really able to see a lot of these discrepancies a lot more because of where how I'm looking at it. But does that mean that the choreography is supposed to be looked at in this specific way? I mean, it's debatable, you know, and that's definitely a completely different topic we could have, but I digress. My entire point being, yes, there's discrepancies, but I see exactly what they're going for. Boom, boom. I really like the isolation choice in the itemization of the arms, little head iso action happening there. They swing through. I like the opposition where you have your lower levels with their arms extended down, then they branch it to the inside. Then you have those that are standing go to the outside and then branch it to the inside once again, still maintaining feature. I like that choice. Boom, boom, boom. They're hitting that boom, 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 boom. So it's not a 1, 2, it's like 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5, 6. So it's kind of one way you would count that. Definitely hits, does it have, I wouldn't give it, honestly, it feels like a slowed down Afro kind of syncopation. I couldn't tell you. I mean, could it be Latin? I don't know. You guys let me know. I haven't studied cultural ethnomusicology, I think is what it's called. I haven't studied that extensively, so I couldn't tell you and itemize cultures as effectively as I wish. But anyway, that is syncopated within a particular niche of culture, and I like it. I think it looks great, and I think it matches very well with how they're hitting it. I would say Latin. I would kind of dive more into that than I would Afro, but their choices are not Latin at all. It's just, I'm just thinking music in isolation. But I like the choice to take the arms up. Everybody has pretty decent shoulder flexibility because no one is like over hunching down as a form of compensation for the lack of flexibility. So good on their part. They did take it. New feature. She does a little bleed up. Looks really nice. And then you have two that are committed to the corners. I appreciate that everybody is, I mean, I don't know if they're like happy about the fact that they're dancing in the corner, but I like it because it really makes it easier on your viewer to know who you're looking at. So I'm personally fine with it. I like how she takes it and bleeds it down. They cross over, do a little trace over her hips. That was really fun. Then they take it, branch it up, but it's different than this prayer hand position, slightly different, and then they branch it down, similar to what we saw earlier where you had one feature and then you had somebody else complement it by making it feel like a ripple. I loved that. Everybody's down on the ground, then they create and expand. Notice, once again, you have somebody behind her, but instead of it going up and out, you have them travel it going up. So I really like that choice with my back dancer. And then you have those that are taking the chest, expanding it to the corners. You can tell that with my lower level dancers. I really like that. And then with these girls, I'm assuming, well, one of them technically has her chest pushed out just a smidgen more than the other one, but it could just be what they're wearing that I can tell that. But I really like having the energy framed to the outside because it does a good job framing our feature in the middle. And take the arms and they twinkle it up. Looks really nice. And they take it and they bleed the energy in. And then from here, she has a little bleed moment. And I like how she goes to the side. And then your other feature that was behind her doing a lot of the motion, or the arms to travel up her body. I really liked that. They kind of share the center in a little bit, which is really nice when you have an even number group. It's very symmetrical. Then you have half of your girls, you have about two of them, so technically a third, have their arms a little bit lower. You have about a third, half a little bit more mid, and then you have a transition happening in the center. So that's nice. Great planes that they're exploring. And then from here, the switch, boom. I like the surprise of this. So really great job on how they're holding their arm positions here. Very nice. And then you have what's going on with my center. She has her eyes covered, honestly, her whole face covered. And then you have somebody that's doing a more it's the same arms, but they're not tilting the body that allows the angle to take place, because these are technically going corner, but it's not because their angle position is to the corner, it's their body is tilting them over to the corner on both sides. And then she's just nice and upright. So I like the complementary action of it. And then you can also tell with some of them, they have their arms placed at the top and near the bottom of the torso. So I like that choice, but you also notice that if you want it symmetrical or mirrored, you want to have little details like this a little bit more clear. So that would be an in general note too, but it's subtle, nothing crazy. I like that choice, little accent, and then they bring it to the center, and I like how she takes it and expands it out. That's pretty. Then they go nice and neutral, and then you notice that some of them have a connection. Now, when I teach this particular technique, this is significantly harder to do well than this. So we always kind of train dancers, I do at least, there's many different ways you can go about this, but how I do it is how I've gleaned from my own teachers. Shout out to Jay Smooth and Jesse Sykes, respectively, and Slim Boogie. Whenever you start, you can start here, and as you get a really good flow, literally, you can take the fingers and make them extend to the first knuckles, and then do the same thing. And then from here, you can have them touch, but still go about it, and notice it feels a little bit different. And then here, it's going to be really making sure that you have beautiful separation between all of the joints, but it's nice and connected, so it creates the illusion of water, hence why it's called waving. So if you notice, some of them do have their hands connected to create that moment, some do not, some have it in the middle. So are they doing that on purpose? I don't know, but that would be something that I would say. However we're gonna commit to it, I would have everybody commit to it. Always go with your dancer that's the least developed for that, to maintain the highest chance of cleanliness collectively. So, but I digress from there. I like how she extends it, boom, boom, really nice seeing that with what's going on stage right and stage left. Then you have everybody who's facing the back, extending the arms out to complement. So even though there is differentiation between what's going on in my center and those that are on the outside, it's still very nice and very well done. And then they take it through and they make a nice little tunnel to transfer the energy up to the sky. Then you have your feature still featuring. I like this choice where she goes and frames her face. Really nice. And then she brings it down, and then you see her feature, or the feature's, you know, partner, going up to down instead of down to up. So that was nice and a little bit different, but still complementary to what we already saw. So nice. They've also showcased levels. So yay for levels. I've seen a ton of them already. Looks great. They typically itemize it by 1 feature standing, 2 that are up or lunged to the outsides, and then you have 2 that are crouching or squatted in the front. So that's kind of the formula I've noticed here. So that honestly could be a note, because we are people, like humans are inept to want to look for things that we have predictability and familiarity, are things that we always strive to live life by. Things that are familiar and things that we predict help us be able to make smarter choices and critically think more effectively. So in this case, that would be something to kind of keep on your radar if you were G-I-DLE, is if by using choreographers, or even the choreographer here, or movement director, whoever was in charge of finalizing the formations for this, is being mindful of the formulas that you choose to reuse throughout one given routine. I think it's fine if you're able to see it dabbled in other stuff if the routine calls for it, but this is something I'm definitely seeing a lot of already, about a minute in a 3-minute routine, right? Where I've already been able to clock. You got 2 people low, 2 people mid, but toward the outside, and then you have 1 person directly behind your feature. So I would say for an even number group, yes, there is a bigger challenge in being able to maintain symmetry and balance. I always talk about it with even number groups significantly more than with odd number, for that very reason, because it is hard with 1-point features to have symmetry without sacrificing somebody behind. But they've been very good at strategizing how to complement and create a nice little moment to add environment or essence to the feature. So I love that, but I'm curious as to how many more times we're going to see this particular structure of where people are placed. Not how they're executing movement in the position, but the actual position itself. So we've kind of already noticed, this is kind of like the 3rd time I've seen this format of level representation, but the formation's different. So I like that, where they're all nice and connected, creates a nice little sphere. You have your feature. I think this is a really fun haircut on her. I think she looks great. Everybody has some really fun haircuts, but she really sticks out to me. Maybe it's because I used to have my hair like that. I used to have long hair, red with bangs. I lived that life. So I think it's cool seeing other people rock it too. I like the opposition with the switch. Phew, nice to have your back row lower and then your lower row raise up. Fun in the opposition. She rotates, and it's a fun way. That was a fun way to introduce your feature there. That was great. Great range on everybody. How they drip that arm down. Oh, that was beautiful. Probably one of the cleanest moments was right there. They go and they expand out. Notice somebody is hidden here. Oh, that's just the name of the game a lot of times. I really like just the cleanliness of how they expand those hands up, bringing it back in, crossover, and you had half of them with their arms down. So just basic diagonals represented for that moment. And then you have, it looks like, let me see here. There we go. Ooh, yes, Jess. So technically we're operating in 3 lines because you have your group of 3, your group of 2, and your 1. It's technically a pyramid or a triangle, but notice that you have your 3 in front. They're technically in a line. They're going with their arms up. And then you have your back person and you have your 2 that are in line 2 goes low. I like that because it allows you to have a peekaboo moment from your back row and not have them be forgotten or hidden, because a lot of times what people would do is line 1 and line 3 do the same thing and line 2 do something different. So if you notice, if my girl right here took her arms and expanded them up, you would not be able to see her. So part of me really likes the fact that she went low, where the choreographer had to go low, so you really see the opposition. Super cool. Love it. And then we have the switch once again, and then we have it doom, doom, doom. So your feature has a nice little crossover. Great work on the wrist flexibility to be able to hold these types of positions. I normally talk when I see groups do this. There's normally a duckbill that's present. I haven't really noticed that with this group, which I very much appreciate. Yay for wrist flexibility. They expand it out. Notice that. We're building it up to a place. There's a vacuum of sound that's about to happen. We're about to have a drop is what that sound cues to us. And so I really like the fact that we're building up the tempo. Well, the tempo's not being built up. We're creating more density and content for the tempo to allow us to know, okay, we're going somewhere. We're picking up the pace of movement, which I think is really cool. They bring it through, boom, they rotate it, boom, really nice. Once again, some people are choosing to have a more stylized hand. This is technically called an orchid palm. And I see one of my girls actually do it. This is more, I learned this from Shinyun, which is like that, it's this traveling Chinese troupe that travels all over America. They have their posters everywhere. If you live in North America, you may have seen these posters. You know what I'm talking about. Crazy on the marketing, these guys. But I digress. All that though, I learned this from their blog. This is called an orchid palm, and then whenever you connect it together and you rotate it around, it's called a blossom, a blooming blossom. So I like the fact that we have some at least nuance of it here. It definitely ties into the vibes of what we're seeing, which is why this stylized hand is actually pretty fitting, because even the name within more of a Chinese traditional folk dance, it definitely originates to more like a flower, so it feels very fitting of a flower. So I love that choice that we see there. Really nice. And I love the subtlety. Boom, doo, doo, doo. Lower in tone. They sink it into the chest a little bit more. Super fun. Ah, really nice. They take it from. Really love that. And then they're going to syncopate. Doom, 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 just like we've heard all the way through so far. Notice that everybody's shifting the weight on the correct side. Sorry, let me digress. Not correct. We don't technically know if anything that they do is correct or incorrect in terms of the choreographer's intention. The only thing we can go off of is the fundamentals that they're showcasing and whether or not they're correct in the foundation representation. That's what I mean. But you can tell that everybody has made the same choice, and I really like that, where everybody's hip is more apparent on the right side, which I really like. They take the arms. And what's really nice too is I talked about this with another group. I think it was with Pixie. Very recently they had a track Bewitched, not recent to the actual track being released, but recent to me looking at it. And they had a lot of choices happening in the torso and the lower body that their upper body could not be influenced by, or it would eliminate the illusion that they were going for. So here, the beauty is having these arms travel down or interrupt into particular positions on a given time that is outside of what's going on in a quicker tempo in the lower body and in the torso. So you notice there's way more fullness happening, ding, 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 ding with the hips, and then notice they're taking those hands, they're creating a nice full moment. Great usage of the back to help create power and strength behind the movement. And I appreciate the fact that it wasn't influenced until that tail end where it looked like it was supposed to be influenced before we floated up into this nice position here. Notice stylized hands once again, the switch. Love the commitment with the head. Some people just showcase the arms. I love that we were intentional with lifting, using the sternum to create a fun arching moment, but we let the head guide it too. So my note too, I did notice, are they crunching their neck? I would say about maybe 1 or 2 of them are. If they're singing live, that can be something that is not the best habit. I would say while she's doing it, she's crunching a lot versus lengthening. But once again, too, I don't know if how they were taught to do it. With choreographers, they don't really go that specific on where your energy is going. That's more of somebody who cleans choreo. That's what they touch on. And I'm telling you, there's so many different roles outside of just who choreographed the routine, that matter just as much as the choreographer does. Somebody who cleans the routine, it could be a member in-house or it could be somebody that works for Cube. They go in, they clean, they make sure everybody's on the same page with everything, because one of the best things I've heard that was worded was, it was from, she's a professor with Berkeley, and her name's Scarlett. She has a podcast, and I literally heard her talk about this today, and it just stuck with me. And she said, it is hard to see the picture when you're in the frame. I was like, girl. So when you think about it, the dancers who, and the performers who are in this picture, it is hard to see what the picture is because you are in it. That is true. As somebody who has been in my own routines, and I've been outside of the routine, it is way easier to clean a routine when I am not physically in it. When I am in it, even I can be off on my own corrections I give to everybody else because I'm calibrating the feedback to who I'm looking at, but I can only look at myself through a mirror or through a camera. So I have to go about it in a different way, if that makes sense. So I digress. All that to say though is that I am impressed with the fact that these are like really subtle things, but I am curious if they're talked about with the group in terms of for crunching the neck or for lengthening the neck, because that does determine singing capabilities in the position. I think that's why I even brought it up. It's because they're singers. I like the subtlety of this as they walk. Ding, 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 ding. I believe they're keeping this front arm, that left arm, a fixed point as they're traveling. So I really like that. Trying to keep it isolated. They bring it up. Ding, ding. I like the rotation. Boom, boom. Projecting the energy to the front. Nice expansion out. Love the fact that we have a really nice V. Once again, we do have somebody that is hidden. So I feel, you know, whenever I'm totally fine personally whenever you see like one formation or two formations in an even numbered routine where somebody's hidden behind. It is hard to see it more often, but also I talked about this with another video and I'll talk about it here. There's always a chance that turnaround time could always be very brutal and you don't have time to make more creative concessions in a formation. So that's why it's okay to kind of extend grace whenever you may see a formation that's being used or a level format being used over and over again, which is what I've noticed, as well as always having somebody, not always, but having somebody covered up in a unison, everybody's on the same level. You know, that kind of stuff happening. So it's we can always find grace in these types of situations. Hitting it through, da 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 da, boom, boom, boom. I really like the choice with the wrists on this, and they switch it up, boom, do do do, and then they let the head lead, and that caused a wider range of what's going on with the switch of the wrists. And then they bring it up. So I like the fact that everybody brought it up from low to mid to the upper diagonal. It is a bit trickier to get everybody on that same page in that way on the particular angles that they're going for, but I like it. It's a little surprising, and that's what you want to have whenever you have people that look at routines or look at music or listen to music and they try to predict it. There's just, this is so fascinating when you look at the neuroscience of how people perceive music, and whenever you see musicality or how people interpret it with movement. It's just so fascinating, but we'll trickle it over throughout all my videos. It won't just be all saturated in this one. Because I've deviated a lot from this routine already, so I feel bad for that. But I do like the choice where they did it again, and instead of keeping the body facing the side, they've kind of rotated it to the front. So it gives this particular movement a different angle to appreciate it and be captivated by it. I love it when choreographers make that choice or when dancers make that choice, because it kind of saves you energy to mentally remember how to do the move, and it's not so dense and remembering so many different moves. It's just changing the positioning of it, and it feels like a new move. I love it. It's a smarter, not harder mentality. I like that choice. She takes the boom do do do. Notice there was a bunch of different hands that came into the group chat for that. Really fun. She goes, no, I really like how she took her stylized hand. She pushed that middle finger down. If you're curious how to do it, to take your hands, you kind of force, you flex them, and then you're going to take that middle finger and drop it down ever so slightly. If you want to go even crazier, you can create in a little orchid palm. If you want to do ballet, you can hide the thumb. If you want to have the thumb hidden, you just have it in line with the rest of the hand. So there's 3 different ways you can go creating a stylized hand like that. Just depends on what you want to do. So I like that. A little equal. They do a nice little slide to present, looking at the hand, new reveal. I like this boom. Now, was she going for a wave? I don't quite know. She didn't really complete it if she was. I'm assuming just more like a breath, a wing approach, because you heard literally a bird, but I think it was ravens, right, in the track. And there's a lot of imagery, a lot of overlapping imagery from Oh My God, and this one, I do know it was fire was involved, the bird nest, was it the tree? I don't know if it was the tree, but I know those 2 things for sure. were in their previous music video. I hadn't seen it, remember, it's my first time, but that a recap video I watched talked about there is a huge connection between the two tracks. So that's what helps me be able to understand the intention a little bit more. I like that part, doom, doom. I really like that reset, everybody facing the back. Notice some have more flat hands, some have it like we're just kind of grabbing our hand to have it behind our back. That does change how it looks, because if you notice, if their hands are a little bit lower on their body compared to somewhere else, it's going to affect the range of your shoulders. So if I have my arms down, nice and low, I have them connected, boom, boom, it's going to feel a little bit different than whenever I have it a little raised. I would say the closer I have my hands to my back, the more restricted it's going to feel because of my personal shoulder flexibility. But if I have them nice and low, I feel like I can do a little bit more. Somebody else may be the complete opposite. But all that to say, if you want everybody to create the same degree of fullness in a movement, these types of positionings with your hands do matter. So I would have said to have your hands in the lower, like right there in the lower back, before we hit our obliques, I think is kind of where I would have said it, or right by our butt. Some of them are kind of having it on their butt, so that's why it's a little bit harder. Just like a very similar, you know, kind of a, they look similar, but they are different. You know, if you're wanting for that super crisp and clean routine, that's the kind of stuff you would look at. They take their hands, I like the little breath wave, and then you have your feature. Everyone's facing the back again, so it kind of feels like the imagery, like what we saw in the very beginning, where everybody was facing the back during her section. So that does stick out to me in a great way. I like that part, do-do-doon, love that. Now everyone's on the same plane, and you notice one person is sacrificed. So that's just another, you know, little overlapping theme I'm noticing in the formations. So they take it around, really like the choice where they expand it out, boom, boom, really nice. And they bring it through like they have a little energy that they're encapsulating, and top to bottom they're holding it. Then from here they go and they rotate, they turn to the inside. I really love the mirroring transitions on that. That was fun. And when I talk about a mirror transition, it's somebody who is who plays the same role as an individual on one side. If this is your center, whoever's over here, they do the same role on this side. So it looks like if you put a mirror, they're doing the same thing, is essentially what it is. So I appreciate that, how far they walk, when they leave, when they come, when they drop to a level, when they raise, those types of things are always really nice when you have a mirror that does it the exact same way as you. That's where synchronicity can come in handy, is at least when your mirror is in check with you. So in that case, that was really nice. I like the little accent, the throw. And then you have a really nice choice where they take it up and they throw it down, similar to what we've already seen earlier. And then honestly, ever since I mentioned where you have everybody, you have two people low, two people standing, one feature with one person behind, I haven't really seen it done in that specific way yet. So maybe I kind of jinxed myself, which I don't mind. I mean, I think it's great that we're exploring different options. We have 4 people that are down except for 2. Sorry. Yeah, which is technically true, but I'm saying instead of it being just 2, we have 4. So I like the fact that we have more fullness in the lower level. That's great. Nice little accent that's happening here. I like how everyone's projecting more forward. It feels kind of like a strike, but also the stylized hands are placating more towards a flower. So I really like that choice. They take the hands, they bring it up. I like with my feature, she dropped down, and then my other feature got up to showcase it's time for her to shine. And everybody takes their arms, they complement it as they stand, so it feels like we're growing a tree, or we ourselves are growing. So I like those choices a lot, where they're going from low to high and they're showcasing, I'm creating depth in my movement, I'm creating fullness in my movement and power. And those are really good ways to showcase that. I like the bleeding through, really nice. They take it, boom, nice little reveal in the back. Then you go up, look at the eye contact to the hands. Really appreciate that. The only person not looking at us is our feature. Very clear to see, not just because of level, but because of where our face is looking. Love that. Everybody's intentional with the flatness of their palms. You can even tell with where the thumb's hanging out too, which I love. She has her hands that are clasped like prayer hands, but it's over to one side instead of up at the top. Still feels very fitting for the type of track it is. I like how she takes it, boom, she goes twinkle, twinkle to the other side. Everybody takes their hands and they do a little wave. This is a little bit cleaner than it was when we saw it with just our 3 in the partnering section. So I like that we're building it in a different way. It feels more unified. It doesn't feel so isolated in 3 clumps. It feels like we're all working together. It's a 5-1, right? So I really like that choice, and how they're looking in different directions, that boom, and then they look. So anytime you see people look somewhere, it is nice, and it makes you want to pay attention to what they're looking at. But if they look away, it actually promotes a sense of complexity and maturity of movement, because they don't have to rely upon looking what they're executing in order for us to get it. And I appreciate that. And a lot of times dancers who train in front of a mirror a lot, that is a subconscious habit that they have to work through, is to not look front all the time, you know, instead of actually allowing to look where you need to look and then look away and then look at your neighbor if you need to, you know, for the sake of a concept, not for relying upon the choreo. So I really like being able to see that everyone's making these really fun, isolated choices that are kind of like little outliers, little mini surprises in when they're choosing to do this little wave. So that's fun. I like that she takes it, boom, boom. She extends that hand. Look what happens to the head. It's really nice. And it's the same degree of execution or the range on going from A to B in the move. It looks really nice and it all feels very cordial with each other. So you see everybody kind of grasp their eyes. You have one of them grasp over her mouth. So there's a subtle difference between the two. So I wonder if that was like a purposeful change or a choice, but I do like this choice, but I also like this choice. But they are, as you can tell, they're different. So that would be my note. And because my center girl did that here, I'm going to assume that was a conscious choice that everybody, was it a mirror choice? Hold on. Yeah, noon, ko, eyes is noon, right? Talking about my eyes here. So I like how she frames it once again. They branch it, boom, nice bleed. You have people stand, and then you have, look, this, see, here's the format again, is this right here, where you have your two low, two standing, but they have that lunge, but it is the exact same as how they set it up before. Is it people in different positions? Possibly, but this is a repeated formation for sure, through and through. I don't have any issues with it because it is justifying a similar section of the track that we've already seen sooner. Smarter, not harder. I understand that format for sure. I like that choice. Boom, doo-doo-doo. Love that. I like that. There's your opposition, but notice it's more condensed. It's not as spread out. Instead of having three girls, it's a reverse triangle. So the first time you saw a group of three, group of two, and a group of one, and now you see a group of one, a group of two, and then you have a group of three in the back. So there you go. I really like that. Really like the fact that we have that. Yeah, cool. And they go boom, really nice and full. I appreciate the fist because a lot of times when you hear that type of drum or percussion, it's somebody holding a mallet or holding a type of, you know, stick or something. And whenever they hit it, it's this kind of motion, right? So when they hold that with that type of fullness, it does give that interpretation of if there's a drum up there, they hit it. And so I like that. And then you have your feature, having her hands nice and folded over. I would say her bottom hand could fold out a little bit more, but that's more of a wrist ISO. I don't know if she's going stylized or what, but it's not the cleanest line in the world. You also have everybody creating more of a crown or more floral kind of stylized hand at the top. And then there you go, boom. I wish that we could have really stuck that before transitioning out, but we really got to see the moment in the music video, so I think that's fine. And we take it over once again, so we take it, boom, doom, 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 boom, doom, 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 doom. So I like the pods and the hips. Same exact energy as before, so great on a stamina side for sure, swinging it through. Yep, da, and then we take it nice and we transition once again. Notice that I think for this, they're going this direction. Did they do this direction? Hold on, we gotta go back. Is it 224 right now? I think they went to the left. No, so it's the same. So I was gonna say, I mean, I think I'm like right here. No, I'm not. I'm like right here. So I was wondering if they actually reversed it, but they didn't because same side, boom, 2, 3. Different people in front, transition's a little different, the slide-in's nice, click, 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 click. So it's the exact same, just formations are slightly different. I do appreciate that. It's smarter, not harder, in the formation side, like it. Once again, travel to the front, but it feels more collective because it's everybody doing that part. I love that. So instead of having everybody, you know, make it more linear, not really linear, but just the angle choices on this was more spaced and it framed her face in a different way. And I really liked that. And she frames it around. I love that choice. And we have a lot of our hands, nice hands separated, the fingers, as we create these fun moments. I love that. And we have a little trot action, little step, touch, two-step, but really full of energy. I like that. We're picking up the pace. I love that. And then what they do is they have a nice pointed leg, a pointed foot, and I would say they have that bent outside leg, and they're expanding that arm to the inside. Looks great. And your feature is also really nice where she's engaging onto a particular side. Can she potentially make this feel more top heavy on a particular side? Yes, it's kind of catering more towards stage left. Part of me wishes that my back dancer went and took her leg and did a left leg, so we had some opposition take place like we have seen before, because I really appreciated it and it kept it balanced. But I don't mind. It kind of feels like she was kind of going from back to front. She could have totally have taken that leg and gone front too to complement what's going on in the very back, or it could have allowed us to see who was actually dancing in the back by having my back dancer extend her leg out. But I like what my outside girls are doing. They are looking in a great place as well. With that one, I'm curious, was that unison? Da, da, da. So it was a three-parter. It felt like she was faster. You know, it felt like she was faster than everybody else, and everybody else kind of, these three at least, traveled at the same rate. Well, it could have been because it was a three-parter. Da, da, da. Yeah, it could have been a triple hit, honestly. If we're gonna provide any like dynamic suggestion, it would have been these two go on the first one, because she technically went on the first one. They would go on the second one, and then they would collaborate and go on the third one. But it would go dee dee dee. It would be a peel, and that would have made it really nice. Smarter, not harder, because that's kind of my overlying trend of this, is you want your choreo to not be so freaking like dense and impractical for your concept. This is very practical, but there is a risk that is run when you go this route, is that little moment, you know, it kind of felt like we went unison when that was a perfect opportunity to create a dynamic that was minimal physical effort, more mental. And for that would have been, you know, just a peel out instead of everybody going unison. But honestly too, maybe they were supposed to peel out and one of our girls went at the right time and somebody who was her mirror didn't. So it just left me with a question because the timing was a little off there, but that's okay. We can just leave our curiosity there. That's no problem. I like how they're taking it to the inside, so it makes sense why they had my back dancer facing where she did, because it allows the frame to take place in the circle. But could she have modified her movement to still do that? Yes. So I think that's just kind of a preference thing. I like how subtle she is. She's the only one not throwing her hands up. I love that. They take their arms really nice in the walk and they create a nice circle. And they use the chest to pull down instead of the head. So if they use the head first, they would snake. But this feels more like my energy is being pulled to the ground. So I like that. And then our feature's the only one that was not low at all. Everybody else is pulsing low. I really like that choice. The switch. I like how she looks at it. Great. Nails for that moment. Whew, girl, get it. They go and they reset to the outside. The swing of the arms looks really nice too. And the tension on this is really fun. But it goes back to, we're just not very clear on who we need to follow in terms of where that tension is. If you're going to go off of who the feature is, notice where her hands are. It's right here by the pelvis, and you have the tension and the bent of the arm. You really only see maybe two others that are doing it the way that the feature is. Hers are a little bit too high and hers are a little too low. So those are little details that could really help capture the tension that we want built there, especially because we have a really good frame for it, but it kind of falls a little flat just in this one little moment here. One moment out of hundreds. Like it's really not a big thing. And then she takes it through. I'm going to assume that moment is she's going to really hit that note. I don't think she needs to do too much there. Let the note speak for itself. And so I really appreciate the simplicity of that. They go to the inside, they drop down, they come up, they recognize that sound, and then they create a nice moment once again like we saw before, but they have it crossed over, and how they're executing it is all slightly different. Some people are creating more of a hinge. Some are, or they're poking the hip out a little bit more. Some are allowing the chest to go out a little bit more. Some are curving. Some are not really establishing dominance with the hand or anything like that. So that's an interesting, I like the choice and I like the subtlety of the breath. It matches very well with what they did in framing earlier in a previous feature. The rotation was nice, da-da-da, and then they drip that hand down. Nice. And they go, and they take the arms up. Looks really, really nice. The twinkling in, and then I really like that bevel switch. I kind of feel like it was a really sharp bevel that they went for. Yeah, I think it's a mix of how they were doing the bevel, really nice, and they shot that heel up really quick, and they had that position nice and in lockdown at the same time, so it felt crisp and staccato without having to do a chest bop or a pop or anything extra in texture. They just needed to do a timing thing where they get it all nice and knitted up in a great way, and that's exactly what we got to see here. I like the pick of for this, boom, doo-doom, doo. It feels very full in comparison to everything else we've seen, but it still has this elegance behind it, and I love it. And it kind of feels like we did it. We're flowers now, you know? And they swing the arms up. I love that choice. Ding, ding, ding. And then we drop it down. Looks really well done. They hit it over side to side. If they had dresses, we could throw that skirt. Kind of feels like that. I love that action. And they take in honestly, it feels like toe taps that we're doing, but very full, a gregarious version of it. And we take it and we do a little blossom flower to branch it over, have our arms stacked on top of each other. We walk. I like this choice of having the hand. Is that a fixed point hand? Let's look. Ah, my bad. There we go. Looking back, what kind of choice? Dun, dun, dun. So as they walk, for me, could they have gotten away with doing a fixed point as they walked away from it? Possibly, but I like the breathiness of it. It matches everything they've already established before. They take the tension here, boom. And honestly, like once again, it still caught me off guard, even though I know I was nearing the end here. Still caught me off guard with how anticlimactic the finish is, to me personally. Maybe it's just, is it in a true like 4/4? Hold on. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. This part right here. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's just 2 8 counts near the tail end. So technically, I guess if you're counting that chill, like all that, that chill part, they'd be like 4 4s. And the first 2 are more chill, the second 2 build up. So like technically that is an ending. It just doesn't feel like an ending, I guess, but I feel like that's beauty of having different perspectives of music production, honestly. So I didn't mind it, and this was a really fun start for me when taking a look at G-I-DLE for the first time. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch, and thank you Akira for the request. I love the fact that I got to take a look at this, and this is my first G-I-DLE reaction to my knowledge, and I think that's super fun, and I'm literally about to start my journey on Queendom, so that probably means I'm going to be seeing them on there too, which means that I will have a poll out in the future that is Queendom themed, and they will be an option to be selected for a marathon. So maybe, fingers crossed, they may make it in and we get to see their entire discography in a month's time, which would be no issue on my part, but I am excited to see what they do in the future, as well as their time during the Queendom franchise as well. Once again, my name is Jess. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.